The topic that we've chosen to discuss today is an important one. It's one that a number of sisters are facing, and we are going to be talking about sisters losing their iman, sisters losing their faith, sisters losing their religion. Now, the first thing that kind of comes to mind for me is the fact that there are a number of sisters that I know who still observe the hijab. However, they have confided in me that they no longer pray, that they're struggling with belief, and the only thing that's kind of keeping them within Islam is that it's familiar and that they are still observing hijab. Now, it's something that we don't really talk about, right? And so I guess it's quite appropriate for honesty talk. Have you encountered sisters who have expressed similar sentiments?
Yes, definitely. And I think even, from my own personal experience, when it comes to going through certain stages or situations, if you're in a trial, sometimes it's really, really hard to even do the basics, if I'm honest. I think it's fair to say you could get to a point where you're just barely holding on. So that makes sense to me.
Or going through the motions.
The feeling, the belief that a person could reach that extent, I could see how it can happen.
What do you think leads to that then?
I think it could be being in survival mode, that you're already bare bones, It could be also where you take a hit in your belief because of something that happens. Like we were talking about the spiritual trauma, feeling let down. There's a million things that could have brought someone to a point where they just are not connecting. It's not what they thought. Maybe there's a point where you're struggling to reconcile between the fate and what's happening, and because of this there's a block. So the communication, the signal, you don't feel like is strong, and you're not in a place where you can actually talk to God about it so easily. If you take the soul out of it, the motivation to continue feels, a person could to get to a point where they're almost hopeless about it.
I haven't really come across personally sisters who still cover and have lost faith. For me, that sounds like they don't want to deal with the backlash that will come with them coming out in that way as so prominently. And I wonder then, that leads me to think, for sisters that we see who remove their hijab, maybe they had lost their faith way before that act. Before the act of finally taking it off.
Yeah.
So they could have got, it makes me think maybe there are stages to this. Because we, from this side of the fence, we just see that and just think, oh, so day and night, you woke up like just a complete switch.
It's never ever like that.
But it's a progressive thing, right? It's not just, okay, the next, I don't really believe anymore and I want to just, And subhanAllah, it makes me wonder then, how can we bring sisters back, help them, support them before they get to the stage where they are completely checked out?
I think what you're saying about acknowledging that it's symptomatic.
Yes.
When we see the external manifestations, they've already gone through the internal process. And having safeguards in place, having certain things in place that are like a fail-safe for you. So one of those things I think that's really important is your company, your circle. The people who will go into the dark and fish you out. When they see you going there, they love you and care enough about you to take care of you. If you go quiet for a while and they think that person is struggling, they fell off the radar, has anyone heard from them? Let's check in on them and see if they're okay. Your circle. And also, one of the things I remember learning, we were doing a tafsir of Surah Al-Baqarah, and something that the teacher said is that for us to have a baseline of things that we never leave in practice, because a person going up and down in their journey where they feel really strong, iman is high, zealous, everything's working, and then they reach a low where they're just barely holding on, and then they could get better. And what she was saying is that the work is in making it that our fluctuations aren't as drastic. So you need to have a baseline that you kind of ebb and flow around more gently. It shouldn't be so extreme. And so if a person decides, like my 5 daily prayers, for example, that's the ground. I can never dip below that. You make the rule for yourself. Even if I'm not feeling it, even if I feel like there's no connection, I'm gonna make myself show up for at least the baseline, and I won't go below that. Then when I can add sunan and duha and witr and qiyam, I will stack and build, but I always come back to the foundation.
And that's the thing. I think when the salah goes, that's it. You've lost your connection really and truly with Allah. And I think when sisters are crumbling, when they are struggling just to get through the day, I always kind of advise, that's fine. You don't need to think about, doing recommended deeds, or pushing or striving. It's about surviving. Keep the 5 daily prayers.
And make your prayers part of your survival.
Just the fact that they're praying is their survival. You don't even have to think about khushu', because if you think about it, if you're struggling just to get through the day, your focus is really literally just surviving, living.
What leads a sister to get to a point where she feels like she can no longer converse with Allah?
Her perception of Him.
And of herself.
Her perception of Him in relation to her perception of what has led her to perceive Him in that way. So for example, she may have sinned, she may have made a mistake, or she feels that she hasn't dealt with a particular test in the way that she had hoped, or in the way that she thinks that Allah would have wanted her to deal with it. And then it's just full of guilt, and she has this perception that Allah is displeased with her, that Allah is disappointed in her, that He has turned away from her. And so that just cuts off the communication lines. And it's like something that you said in an earlier episode. He is always there. It's us that have turned away. Because even if we've sinned, even if we've made the biggest mistake, the doors to His mercy, the doors to communication with Him are always open. It's just us, due to our perception, that have decided, I'm putting the phone down.
Or we're not worthy. We spoke about worthiness in the sight of God. When I say I no longer qualify for the mercy, and I've lost that status now, so it's hopeless, then it seems pointless to try, if that's what you believe about it.
It goes back to husna dhan billah, right? Good thoughts of Allah, regardless of what situation you're in. And it's despair. I think despair of your situation, despair of Allah's mercy or Allah's help or Allah's forgiveness. When you begin to despair and you lose hope, you just think, what's the point? I'm done. I'm like, it's over for me anyway.
I'm too far gone.
What's the point?
Yeah. And I know that there's a sister that I've spoken to in the past who said that her struggle, she used to wonder, why do I struggle with Fajr so much? And I don't know why it was that particular salah, but she would find herself not praying Fajr specifically. And I'm not sure how her other salawat were, but definitely she mentioned Fajr, and she said that she came to a breakthrough one day, I think maybe through journaling, where she realized that her struggle with Fajr was that she didn't deem herself worthy to talk to her Lord, to approach her Lord. Like, she was down there and He is all up there, and there was just too much of a gap between them. But for me, the beauty that I see is that we have a direct line to Allah. We don't need to go and speak to a clergyman or seek an imam's intercession. We have the direct line to talk to Rabb al-Alameen. That is so beautiful that we have been gifted that. Because no matter what situation that we find ourselves in, we can, like, I love that analogy, pick up the phone and dial in to him, knowing that he is on the other side. He will always be on the other side. Whatever we come with, however we come to him, he will always be there to listen to us. And I see sisters, yes, I see sisters struggle with tests and things, and then they may question why Allah had allowed that to happen, and that's why they struggle with their faith. But it goes back to what you were saying. Think well of Allah, and knowing that He gives everything to you with hikmah, with wisdom, and He has tailor-made it for you.
You know, I also think many of us have rocky foundations. If I'm totally honest, we have rocky foundations. Those that have either become Muslim or they've started practicing. In the beginning, there's a great emphasis on the need to change one's physical appearance, to use the lingo, the Islamic lingo, to have company. But do we actually spend time building the foundations of our belief? We can roll off, what the 5 pillars are. We can roll off the pillars of Iman. We can roll that off. But have we internalized it? Have we really laid the concrete foundations of our belief?
And getting to know Him.
Right? And getting to know Allah. Because if that is in place, when there's, when there are strong gale winds, right, that hit the building, it may shake it a little bit, but that building is not going to fall down because the foundations are in place, right? So I do think that that there needs to be work on our foundations, not just when the winds hit, but actually way before. When we're actually in positions of ease, when the sun is shining and it's just a cool breeze, that's when we really need to establish the foundation.
Particularly applicable to those of us who feel that we're strong in our deen and iman. Because those of us who are strong in our deen and iman, we feel like, especially when we see other sisters taking off their hijab or doing whatever they're doing and engaging whatever they're engaging in, we can get on our high horse like, astaghfirullah, and we don't know how a test could hit us and shake us, and we feel like we're solid. And it's when the test comes that we realize, my goodness,
I was not what I thought
I was not there.
And sometimes because of that judgment that we passed upon another sister and the her status or our perceived status of her with Allah, that sometimes we are tested as per the judgment we enacted upon another, right? It's like Allah saying, oh, so you judged another believer, you don't know the circumstances that she went through, right? Let's see how you fare now. Sumayah, would you say that there is anything, tell me if there's anything else that you believe a sister who is maybe watching this and is in that position, what she can do to ensure that she doesn't lose faith, that she has a turnaround from this that's really, really useful and beneficial for her.
When you were talking about the foundation, something came into my mind, and that was it was about the concept of studying aqeedah, tawheed. And for as long as I could remember, whenever the topic of tawheed came up, it was always something controversial. It was a battleground for people from different points of view. It was dry. It was
textbook.
So many things around it, to the extent that in my mind I was like, that's one of my least favorite subjects under the Islamic studies umbrella. And it wasn't until hearing what it's actually about, like it's actually telling us about God in the realest terms. And when you learn aqeedah, like for example, the matn of the Aqeedah Tahawiyah, when you look at what it's saying, it's literally talking about God in the ways that we understand him to be. He's one. You know, he doesn't get tired. He's there for us. Like, and literally, if you feel like I'm losing my mind, if you just think about who Allah is, because the names and attributes are like, they're like, like keywords, but they have a depth behind them and more to them. And when you look at like Aqidah in that way, as it's telling you and teaching you about who God is, and if it's taught to you with its meaning, it could save you. It's extraordinary.
You know what the problem is there? I mean, I agree with you. The problem is that we're taught this in such a dry, boring, textbook manner that sisters are not inclined to strengthen their aqidah and strengthen their foundation. They're really put off by it.
With all the Arabic lingo to go with it.
So I think there needs to be, maybe someone will rise up in the
a
community.
Way, to reposition it.
Yeah,
so
and teach it in a way so that it's interactive.
You got that idea.
It's interactive, it's personalized. And it's something that sisters can tap into when they are experiencing it.
And I think that is something that we need to look at for our children as well.
Oh yes,
because children are taught the method, because it's like memorizing a prose, so you can memorize the whole thing. And when you think about it and you go back to it and you learn and you remember certain things and you think, okay, when Allah decides something, no one can stop him. There is nothing like him. And it's like you bring it into the forefront of your mind.
The application of that to the situations that you're in your life.
You reflect on it, you think,
so important.
He wouldn't let me down. He'll never leave me. He's always there.
Sisters that may be watching this that are losing their religion, what would your number one piece of nasiha be to them?
I think my number one nasiha is to forget the people and turn to Allah.
Okay.
Because people will tell you all sorts of things, judge you, give you advice of what you should be doing and how haram you are and how astaghfirullah you're condemned and la la la. Roll out your prayer rug and bawl your eyes out to Rabbil Alameen and just bring it to him. Like, just bring
even if
it
you're not
to him.
feeling it.
If you even if you're not feeling it, because I believe that Allah will give you that. Allah doesn't turn someone away. If you're knocking on doors of Ar-Rahman, is he gonna turn? He's not gonna turn away. I 100% believe that even if you're not feeling it, the act of even just showing up is big.
Yeah, that's ibadah.
It is.
That is worship. Just to
show up is
worship.
big.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair. Sumayah?
Oh, I went first. So knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the judgment aspect. I think one of the things that comes up a lot is I'm going through this and now I'm isolated because all of my old friends, they come at me now. They want to advise, they want to tell you, okay, I think you're slipping and you should go back and do better, but I just feel alienated and judged by them and I really don't want to be around any of them and I feel isolated now. So if you're the friend to try and keep the channels of communication open and to be loving, as another human being, I love you and I'm here for you wherever you are on your journey. You know, you're transitioning, you're going through stuff, that's cool, you'll find yourself in your time, but I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, that door has to always be open. Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it goes back to what you said about the baseline, that, you know, you may have kind of reverted back to your old ways. You may no longer be wearing hijab. You may be drinking alcohol, whatever. Salah. That, hold onto that. Dig your nails, your teeth, your everything into your salah. Even if you feel like it's literally a drag just for you to pray, please, sisters, until you can get help, just keep that going, because that is your life and Allah sees it and He will respond and He will make whatever has led you to this point, He will turn it around for you. Just keep the salah as your baseline.
Yeah.
Okay, share your thoughts and comments. What else can sisters do to cope when they are going through doubts in their faith, when they're losing their iman? What else can they do to ensure that they hold on to the rope of Allah? That's what this is all about. We look forward to seeing you again at the next episode of Honesty Talk, inshallah.
Okay, so what is it that you actually really, really want?
I don't need to be happy in this life. It's all about the akhirah. Everything's about the akhirah. My desires about the akhirah, my level of happiness. You know, everything is about there. SubhanAllah, what are we living for?
Does happiness even exist in this dunya?
It's like, I remember talking about it before, about prayer. Like when you're going through a difficult time, you're sweating whatever it is that you're thinking about and you're stressing about. So you rush your salah to get out and finish worrying about what you're worrying about.
But for me, that moment was just pure happiness. It was pure ecstasy. It filled me.